This is the third installment of 3 of my newest videos, which I've posted on my YouTube channel. My name is Daniel 7 of 7. And this will be the third and final one, actually. I have called the Russian Federation Embassy here in Ottawa this morning. And I've told them about the first two that I already uploaded for NATO and China and Russia. This will be the third and final one. NATO and Canada together in the filthy White House covered up so many crimes against my wife and I, our property, our children. They came after us ruthlessly. Ruthlessly. The Hells Angels motorcycle gang and the other Canadian gangs are all in with the Nazi skinheads in the police. And they work as one unit. My wife and I know this because they worked us over in Quebec together. All of them. And the Italian mafia. The first thing I'd like to indicate is I listened to YouTube intently this morning. And I was quite shocked to hear Trump. Well, not shocked, but confirmed shock that I already knew. And him saying that the Hells Angels are gentlemen and they protect him. I kept telling the Russian government that that the U.S. government are gang members. They've had secretaries of state like Tillerson, who's a gang member. Okay? It's a good thing that at least Trump admitted it, right? But it also explains the fact that he's criminally illegal. And it's not just him, it's Joe Biden as well. Both of these parties are run by this organization of motorcycle gangs and neo-Nazi colonials. And Canada too, our parliament. Okay, and that's what our governments have become. There is no such thing as justice against the gangs because our government's sleeping with them, and so is their security. I've been saying this all along. Now that Trump has admitted it, right? Can Russia and China possibly imagine how many gangs he's recruited into security? And Canada as well. Not just Canada and the United States, but also the UK and other NATO states, including the fascist regime of Israel. I just listened to a video this morning from a Holocaust survivor. His name is Stephen Kappos, K-A-P-P-O. I believe there's an S or there may not be. He posted a 10-minute video, okay? And at the end of the video, he condemned Israel as a fascist regime. Netanyahu, another gangster and thug, okay? Which is what he is, dressed in black. See, they dress in black, eh? When you see the Israeli pig dressed from head to toe in black, well, I just had a couple of gang members deliver a stove to my unit. I was rather shocked that the company who we rent this unit from would order a stove and have what would appear to be, from my perspective, one young man dressed in red and black, which is a Hells Angel death head colors, and the other one dressed from head to toe in black. It's the same as the women at the Children's Aid Society in Toronto, all dressed in black from head to toe, who took my little girl and allowed her to be abused. One has to wonder who they gave her to. And also my son. And the attacks on our boats, and my wife and I being chased everywhere by these people in the police and all of their recruits on the streets. Trump confirmed, and I point this to Russia, Trump confirmed Russia. that the police and the gangs and the Nazi skinheads in the police targeted my wife and I. And Trump approved of that with his own admission this morning, along with his Hells Angel buddies on Parliament Hill and the neo-Nazi skinheads, okay? Trump confirmed that, didn't he? This particular video is for NATO here in Ottawa and your buddies in New York City at the UN. Do you understand me? Listen to me, NATO. This video is titled to all the embassies here, including Russia and China. All of you. You understand. And you're all going to understand very shortly, okay, that I am a prophet of God. And the Jewish community is going to understand it as well. By force, they're going to understand, and so are you. By force. You understand? Because in the few coming months, if you think that you people in NATO and you Russia and China, if you think for 5 seconds, okay, that your dream new world order is going to happen, think again. Because my Father's coming to cut you all off, literally. You understand? And I wish to tell all of you, including my Russian colleagues and friends at the Russian embassy, listen to me. I warned you, okay? My visions were warnings from God to me, okay? All of them since 2012. The U.S. White House and State Department, 4 different secretaries of state, 3 different presidents were warned, okay? Through me. God warned them. And they turned around with Canada and mocked him and still came after my wife and I. Do you understand, NATO? Great Britain, you're scum of the earth, okay? And you, United States government here in Ottawa, you're scum of the earth. Scum. Dirty, filthy, evil, satanic scum. And you, Parliament Hill, all of you, scum. And you know you're guilty. Don't you? Worst of all, Russia, China, is this filthy government corrupted my Jewish community here that I am related to against me. That is the worst of the worst. And the Jewish community here knows it. Those institutions of the Jewish community involved in axing my wife and I, chopping off our heads with Canada. Okay, listen to me, you evil Jews. Not all of you, some of you. You listen to me. Don't forget Mount Sinai when you honored the golden calf. Don't forget about the 17,000 of you my father killed in 4 hours with a plague thousands of years ago because you turned on Moses. Remember that? He's coming to get you as well as this entire city on my behalf. And you're going to die with them. And that's what's going to happen very shortly. Do you hear me, Israel? There are, as it was at the base of Mount Sinai, NATO, there were good Jews, Hebrews, and bad Hebrews. And God sent my people into the wilderness with Moses for 40 years until all of those evil Hebrews who committed the acts they did against him at the base of Mount Sinai had died. And he took the young generation that did not sin against him into Israel. He told Moses that, he said, I'm doing this to keep my promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I gave them a promise. I'm going to deliver the people to a land of milk and honey of their own. What did he say? He said, I'm keeping my promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He didn't say he's keeping his promise to the Hebrews below Mount Sinai, did he? He gave them Israel because he made a promise to their forefathers, not because of them, because they sinned against him. And they went against Moses as well. Several times they tried to dethrone him. Several times they said, we want to go back to Egypt where we have food and work for Pharaoh, where we have homes. Going against God. Even after God showed them miracles, they went against him. But he planted them real good for Moses. didn't he? Just a brief religious prospect on history. You people are all guilty. This whole city's guilty. And the member states here are guilty. The British are guilty. The Australians are guilty. The Israeli consulate, the worst of them, really guilty. Jewish rabbis here, guilty. Jewish Federation, guilty. CEJA, guilty. Simon Wiesenthal Center International, guilty. Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center, guilty. Rabbi Borarsky, guilty. Melissa Landsman, guilty. I'm going to tell you something, NATO. I'm going to tell you, Russia. These people are not going to God. God's going to send them somewhere else with all of you. But Jews like Stephen Capo, who came forward, who suffered in the Holocaust, they're coming with me. Okay? And where I'm going. Note that there is definitely going to be a separation. No doubt, don't have any doubt about this at all. You're all going to be here. Okay? When my father comes to this city and plants it. Okay? And you're going to be caught by surprise, as I said. You understand? And out of friendship for Russia, the Russian government here, because they took all my calls, because they supported me sitting across the street being abused and threatened by these things in front of their embassy who were terrorizing them and me. These government police, I don't know, Nazi recruits with signs against Russia and its leader and its people. Because the Russian government were the only ones that were at least willing to listen. Although they didn't do anything, they were at least willing to listen. So I ask God to have mercy on them and pass them by when he comes here. And I still maintain that position, even though, President Vladimir Putin on YouTube kicked me in the teeth, apparently. Of course, I can't confirm it. Maybe they AI'd his voice. But when your president, Russia, said on YouTube, and I just saw it last night, how much he respects Donald Trump, that made me sick to my stomach. I'm sorry. And I point this to the Russian embassy here. And you, China, I came to your embassy. You invited me. Bring us your evidence, you said. We're willing to look. So did Miss Lou at your mission in New York, as you recall, years ago. I tried to send her the evidence. A week later, I call her back, and Miss Lou says, hold on a minute, I'll check my computer. She checks her computer, received nothing. The same with the ICC. I called them. They checked their computer. They received nothing from us. You know that. Right. And Russia and China go along with this. I take the package to your colleagues, the Chinese embassy. I went the first time. Security comes out and says they can't speak English very good. They can't accept it. I come home. I call the Chinese embassy. This diplomat answers the phone, who I spoke with all along, who invited me. He says, when did you come? I said, I was there 10 minutes ago in a taxi, and your security rejected it. Oh, I didn't know that, he says. He says, well, when are you going to come down again? I said, I'm not sure, in the next few days. I'll try again, and could you please ensure that, that it's accepted? No problem. They even invited me into the embassy. They asked me, China, your allies, Russian embassy, right here in Ottawa, they asked me on the phone, would you like to come into our embassy? And I said, well, no, that won't be necessary. And the reason why I said it was because I didn't have any of the appropriate attire. I don't have a suit. You know the way I dress, Russia. You've seen me, right? I don't have a suit. I don't have a tie. I don't have a shirt. I don't even have a pair of shoes, okay, or dress pants. I didn't feel that would be appropriate to come into the Chinese embassy without the appropriate attire, okay, out of respect for them. So I take the package down there on my bicycle. I had no more money for a taxi. And the official comes out, not security, the diplomatic official. He comes right to their door gate, and he's talking to me, and there's a thug on the sidewalk, a big thug, okay? I talked to this thug briefly when I arrived there. I wanted to know why he was there. He said to me, I've been trying to get China to do something for 30 years. They won't do nothing for me. That's what he said. But here's the problem. This guy was not even 30 years old. Okay? I asked him. So he knew I was there, didn't he? He said, and he didn't know why I was there. He had no clue why I had come there. None. He said, China never helped me. I've been asking them for 30 years, he said. I never told him that we were asking for China's help. Said nothing to him. And then I walked up to the gate, buzzed. He comes out, the Chinese diplomat. I said, here's the package for you and your government. I didn't include all of it, just the most important crimes Canada committed. I said to him, there's a card for President Xi and Ambassador Kong thanking both the leader of China and your ambassador for allowing me to come down and willing to take a look at my material. This Chinese diplomat looked over my shoulder. He saw the thug behind me. Now, I don't know, I was facing him, the diplomat, so I don't know when he looked over my shoulder whether that thug gave him a dirty look. Something happened because I could see that the Chinese official on the other side of the gate became scared and intimidated. He said to me, oh, well, can you go stick this in our newspaper box just down the sidewalk a bit, and I'll come get it later. I think I told that story how many times? To you, Russia. To your government. These are your allies down on Patrick Street, aren't they? Nothing was done. Nothing. And what did I do afterwards? I came right to your embassy, didn't I? I almost ran my bike into a telephone pole. I went down there 6 months later to the Chinese embassy when winter was over on my scooter. I simply buzzed them. I said, this is Daniel Fitzgerald. Hello. I said to the gentleman at the other end of the microphone at the Chinese embassy, I said, oh, well, what did you do with the file I left you? Did you get it? Did you give it back to Canada? Can you please tell me what you did? Can you give it back to me if you don't want it? And what does he say to me? Get off our property, I'll call the police. What was that all about? Never an apology, never a regret. They certainly never contacted my wife and I, to say, the Chinese embassy officially, we're sorry that we treated you that way. We apologize, nothing. They just said nothing. They didn't regret what they said to me. They regretted nothing. How could that be? Okay. Same with the NATO governments here, Germany, France, the UK, Israel, all of them threatening me with the police, Australia even. For no reason, simply because, why? Because I wanted attention paid to our evidence against Parliament Hill and Canada and the provinces of Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. All three. All three were involved, Russia, in covering up the attempted murder of my wife and I's newborn little girl in 2006. I think I stated that. They pulled her catheter out because of Paxil Wellbutrin. So stinky little Gordon Campbell and his Liberal government in BC decided to allow organized criminals, gangsters in the hospital, to try and murder our newborn, to save millions in a potential lawsuit once we found out it was the Paxil and Wellbutrin that my wife's doctor did not take her off of when her doctor found out my wife was pregnant, which caused the gastroschisis bowel defect, okay, which I've already explained many times. And then on top of that, all of you, Russia, China, NATO, you knew my wife and I had, under international law, especially under Article 24 and 25 of the UN, that we had a right to asylum and that we were in danger because of Canada's organized criminal gangs and neo-Nazis insecurity and on the streets and in the government. And Mr. Trump confirmed that, didn't he? Hell's angels, they're my friends, they're gentlemen, they protected me. Isn't that what he said? Really? Gentlemen, are they? Is that right? Well, I wouldn't know about that. I can tell you that right now. I don't even know why my wife and I are still alive here, to be quite honest. I really don't know. Obviously, Russia, the government paid them on Parliament Hill, didn't they? The Conservatives and the Liberals paid this motorcycle gang to destroy my wife and I in Quebec. That's what they were up to. That's what they were doing. And they were using their people in the police, this government here. It all came from Parliament Hill, Russia. Do you understand? Someone or people on Parliament Hill, Russia, did not want my wife and I ever getting out of Quebec. And they moved to stop us from being able to leave Quebec because they didn't want us coming here to Ottawa with all our evidence, you see. This was the problem. And incidentally, yes, I think what Trump said is disgraceful, but on the other hand, in my case, I'm not after these biker gangs. That's not whom I'm after. God will take care of them when he takes care of all of you at the same time. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm after these scumbags on Parliament Hill, okay, who are gangsters and thugs. Wolves in sheep's clothing, I believe, is what Jesus referred to them as. I'm after the guys on Parliament Hill who gave the orders. Those are the ones I'm after. And Russia has not done a damn thing, and nor has China. You won't even go public in your own countries, to your own media, yet you both defended Julian Assange, huh? And the evidence that I have, when I look at Julian Assange and what he knew and what he disclosed, along with Edward Snowden, when I look at the two of them combined and their honest, decent disclosures, theirs are nothing compared to mine. Theirs is a needle in a haystack, isn't it? Truthfully. Certainly, Russia and China didn't rise to our defense, did you? Right? And we're free to walk right into your embassies. But both of you decide to come out and defend Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, right? When they're after them to kill them. When Julian Assange was incarcerated in that Nazi prison in the UK, okay? That's when China and Russia decided to come out and defend him. You certainly did not offer him asylum in London. Why didn't you give him asylum in London? You knew he was there. Why didn't Russia and China's embassies contact him and say, look, come to our embassies. Come to our embassies. They'll never, ever get in here to snatch you. You knew he was there. Your governments knew the Americans were after him. You knew that. But you wouldn't give him asylum. But afterwards, after he gets nabbed, there's stories coming out Russia's plotting to break into the Ecuadorian consulate and kidnap Julian and bring him to the safety of Russia. That story came out, right? What I see is, that your leaders, Russia and China's leaders, are simply no better than the West. You both invite these evil leaders into your countries. I'm very disappointed in President Xi Jinping, extremely disappointed. Because my position is righteous and true. NATO leaders should not be allowed in China, nor Russia, okay, without warrants for their arrests. Why? Based on one case, this one here, ours. Our case indicates that NATO leaders and their governments here violated international law, and they all assisted Canada here, all of them, in their crimes against my wife and I, which means not only is Canada's government on Parliament Hill and their opposition guilty, but NATO is guilty of conspiring to cover up Nazi war crimes against my wife and I by Canada. And that includes Israel. Guilty. And that's all. That's about it. What else can I say? I just thought I'd do this short video and let you all know. And this video is for NATO states. You're a disgrace. Okay? And I am telling you, you know my visions from my father, right? God. Don't you? Right? You know what's going to happen to all of you, don't you? Right? Well, my final words to all of you is it's too late now. Do you understand? There's going to be no mercy. None. Zero. What do you think about that? You all knew. You know what the Bible says. Right? You all know what Jesus said in Luke 21. Right? He said, the earth will be disturbed by the moon, the sun, and the stars in the end. Is that not what he said? Yes. And NATO, you're all regretting your evils, eh? Not just your evils against my wife and I, with evil, right? You don't even regret, none of you, what you, for example, you, Starmer, you have no regrets, eh, Mr. Prime Minister of the UK, for what you did to Julian Assange, for what you're doing to your own British people, right? And you, Mr. Canada, aren't you the cat's meow, eh, Carney? Now, Mr. Carney wants to deliver Christians to God because Mr. Carney hates Jesus, because the truth keeps showing up over his head along with the rest of you from the sun, right? Is that not true? They all know. All of them. Don't you, NATO? You all know, right? And now you hate Jesus Christ. God's not showing you any mercy, is he? Right? Your filthy leaders send priests and pastors and rabbis back to their temples to pray to God to show you mercy. Right? You've been doing that now for how long? 5, 6 years, 10 years? Obama's the one that started that process, right? Scared out of his mind, right? Because everything Jesus said is coming true. You governments knew this. So you all sent your religious deacons to pray for you at their temples, asking God for mercy. And you all sat back afterwards and waited to see if we'd get hit by bigger solar flares and quakes from God, huh? And he kept turning you down, didn't he? Right? He kept saying no. You prayed, he sent a solar flare. You prayed again, he sent a bigger solar flare. You prayed again, he sent big earthquakes, right? What does that mean? NATO? What does that mean, Russia and China? It means my father says no. Let me tell you something. Years ago, 2012, I called God watched me call the State Department. God watched my wife and I begging the U.S. consulate. God watched, God saw, God gave me visions. Okay? Terrible visions. Earthly visions. The planet cracking up from the mantle. All of you floating off into outer space with the oceans and billions of people. Instant death and the end of planet Earth. Remember I told you about that? Do you remember when I told you the vision I had of architects speaking English in an office in a building? Architects that create drawings to build buildings. Remember I told you about that? And I saw on the wall a drawing of Auschwitz 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. New Auschwitz. Did I not tell all of you that? Did I not tell Israel that? Yes, I did. Right? I did. Did I not tell you? My wife and I being entertained in a vision? Rocks flying everywhere? Hitting buildings? Killing people instantly from the heavens? Did I not tell you about that? Did I not warn all of you what God was showing me? Well, the point is, I warned the United States. I went to them. I went to their DHS, their FBI. I went to their CIA. I called their White House, called their State Department. Long before Russia, I contacted you. Okay? And I told them about the visions. I sure did. And God didn't say anything to me about that. He just kept giving me the visions on both Jacob's Goshen and Jacob's Ladder. Okay? And I called the U.S. State Department, reported them to Hillary, John Kerry, Tillerson, Pompeo. Right? Didn't I? They know. Right? Of the world's destruction by God for their evils. Right? And I was also telling about the crimes against my wife and I. repeatedly. DHS, the CIA, the White House, the State Department, their embassy here, right? Didn't I? Did I not, US, did I not tell you the visions? And they kept letting Canada murder my wife and I in Quebec. So finally, God decided he had enough. Do you understand? And he came to me in my sleep in his voice, and it was him, not Jesus. Do you understand? He said to me, and this was one day after I just called the White House and the State Department about more crimes against my wife and I. And the day after I called them at night, I went to bed aboard my boat and I prayed. God came to me in a voice. He said, Daniel, don't contact them again. I'm going to destroy the Amorites. Then I come to Ottawa here later in later years, right? After he told me this, not to contact the U.S. Years later, I come to you, Russia and China here, right? And I gave you my evidence, didn't I? Right? And you kept your gates closed on my wife and I, would not let us in, right? I mean, it's true. And God saw what you did, right? And then 6 months ago, he pulled the same thing he pulled on me when he told me about the United States not to contact them again. And 6 months ago, he came to me and said, there'll be no mercy for Russia and China. Why? Well, as far as I can conclude anyway, logically, it's because both of you assisted Canada in more crime. The Russian embassy, do you have any idea how many crimes they have committed against my wife and I while you're rejecting us at your gate? How about you, China? How about you, Mr. New Ambassador? I don't know your name, but respectfully to you, do you know how many crimes have been committed against us, China, since you threatened to call the police on the victims, my wife and I, for delivering the truth to you? You think that my father's going to spare you? Are you kidding? No, it doesn't work that way. Both of you hearken unto the pigs who tried to murder my wife and I. And Russia, you can't play both sides of the fence. You got to make up your minds which side you're on. And to do that, you need to have a talk with your president, President Putin. You need to decide who you're going to side with, me or them. If you side with them against me, then you side with them against God. And if you side with them against God, then there's no guarantees what's going to happen when I leave. I'll still ask God to pass your embassy by when he comes here and flattens all the rest. But I can't guarantee that, of course. I'm just telling you, I owe you one. So I will continue to pray to him to pass you by. But I'm not praying for China, and I'm not praying for anyone else. The rest of them can be flattened as far as I'm concerned. Call it what you want. Call it justice, call it vengeance, call it whatever you want, okay? But they're going to be flattened. This city's going. And I swear my father's going to catch them all in Parliament when this happens. They're not going to escape. Whatever he's going to do here, they're not going to escape this. I will, my wife will, but they won't. Okay, Canada? And if you try to stop us from leaving Canada, this city, okay, Mr. Prime Minister Carney, do you understand? It won't matter. He'll come here and flatten the city anyway. Do you understand? Because no matter what, he's going to flatten this city, and soon. Do you hear me? You're going to pay, all of you. You're going to pay maximum price. You do not murder his prophet. You don't do that. Okay? And I made it very clear that I'm God's prophet. He chose me, not the other way around. He chose me. But I also chose him. It was my decision. I went to him, and he came to me. And he said to me, you're going to be my prophet. You're going to prophesy against the nations on my behalf. And you're going to tell them what I show you, what I'm going to do to them. Right, Russia? That's right. Right, Israel? Correct. And listen to me, NATO and Canada. Listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. My father told you thousands of years ago, your evil satanic forefathers, okay? No more shall I allow you to murder my prophets. Israel. And I'm his prophet. Canada, Israel, Russia, China, United States. Do you understand? This is the truth. I don't lie. I'm not going to lie in front of God. I won't do it. Not for anyone. And I'm not going to bow, ever. You understand? Whoever's in my phone telling me to bow, to me, that's Satan with horns, okay? Hiding in my phone. I'd like to bury you, Satan, with your horns and drown you in my toilet and your followers. And Russia, he knows what I'm talking about. But the good Lord, Russia, Yahweh, and Yeshua is going to save me the trouble. They're going to bury Satan in his horns and all of you that follow him. And that's the bottom line. And this is a warning. So take it for what it's worth. This video is not intended to be an insult or a threat. I don't make threats. Why should I, Russia? I don't need to. Look what the sun just did. Look what God just did with the sun. Who's threatening who here? All right. And trust me, you still haven't seen the effect of the last burst against planet Earth. Okay? And you don't know what's coming, and I do. In months. Trust in what Jesus tells children. He likes to talk to children because they're completely innocent. Completely. Listen to the little 3-year-old little girl and what Jesus told her. What did he say? You all know. You all tuned in, right, to this little child, didn't you? And she's going to need protection because, like me, you're going to want her dead. No kidding, Russia. These leaders are ruthless. They kill children. They kill prophets of Jesus Christ and God, or they try to. And this little girl is going to need to be protected. Every child that Jesus spoke to is going to need protection. But you know what? No one's going to protect them because you people didn't protect me. And I'm at the head of the table of all prophets on earth. And simply through this little girl, Jesus confirmed everything I was shown. The aliens, the U.S. filthy government, NATO sleeping with alien humanoid balls from outer space is true. Their ships cloaked over our cities. They're the worst form of evil. What kind of people, Russia, did Hitler hire in the SS? What kind of human beings did they recruit? They recruited gangsters, murderers, and thugs. Because these kinds of minds have no conscience to commit evils against innocents. Right? Anyway, I think I shall end this video now. I thought my menorah would be a nice touch. What do you think? I also have crosses too here. I just don't show them, but they're here. Remember what the little girl said, right? What Jesus told her, the most important part of her statement. Remember, NATO, Russia, China, what he told her. What did he say? He said, tomorrow may be a normal day, right? Next week may be a normal week. Next month. I think that's sort of what Jesus was saying. I'm not sure if I have the exact wording exactly, but that's what he said. The problem for you people is the portion of the message is not what Jesus said. It's what he didn't say. That's the actual message. What didn't he say? Right? To the little girl. He didn't say to her, well, things might be normal on earth in 6 months. Things on earth might be normal in a year. Things on earth might be normal for the next 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. See, the problem is, Jesus never said that, did he? That's the message. In other words, he's coming in months. from now. And it's going to be massive destruction. Maybe NASA, the Russian space agency, would like to tell us all. Russia? Tell us about the asteroid field headed right for us. Getting close, isn't it? Right? Very close. And plus, I noted a mass increase in meteorites getting through the atmosphere, according to this American in Arizona named Mr. BB333. He posted a video the other day and he showed what was online about the NEOs, the NEO list. I'm seeing a lot of zero lunar distances. More so than ever on those charts. I don't even look at them. I don't go on Google and look them up. Why should I? When people like BB333 and some others I know do it for me and post it on YouTube, I don't need to. Eventually, someone will, and I will find out. You people did this. All of you. All you global governments did this. All you in the UN did this. You created your own destruction. And now, as Jesus said, you all deceive the populaces. You mitigate and cover up everything. Right? But Jesus said that. Jesus said to John in the book of Revelation, he said, Satan shall deceive the nations. Well, when Jesus said that, the correct interpretation of that, when he said, Satan shall deceive the nations in the end time, what he meant was the nations' leaders in Satan would deceive their populations in the end time. And that's what he meant. What else did John say in the book of Revelation? That 10 leaders not in power yet shall be 1 hour with the beast and be given positions of power. Didn't he say that? Who's the beast? Who? Who are these 10 nations that are given power in 1 hour with the beast? Who are they? They know who they are, right? But they don't tell their peoples. Now they state in Davos a new world order. I think that's what Jesus was kind of talking about. This satanic world order of destruction. That's what they were referring to. Interestingly, I'd like to end the video by stating that what happened in Davos, what I found out about last night on the news, on YouTube, it was reported everywhere, wasn't it? It reminded me of when Moses warned Pharaoh. He went to him with several warnings about him letting the people go or else, right? But in one of his warnings to Ramses of Egypt, who, by the way, was also a bald, his high priests were bald. Yes, Cecil B. DeMille's description of Ramses of the time period and his magicians was quite accurate. They were bald. Interesting, eh? Do you think there's a connection to the balds today? I think so. But in this case, once again, the Zionist fascist government of Israel has joined Pharaoh and his balds again. Willingly. Hasn't he? But what happened in Egypt, Russia? What did Moses tell Pharaoh? What did he tell him? He told Pharaoh to let the people go or else. And then God said to Moses, well, no, I'm going to harden his heart so he doesn't let the people go because I'm really going to hurt him big time. Right? Didn't he? What was one of the things that happened, Russia, that God did, right? A mist fell over Egypt, right? A plague. Didn't it? What happened in Davos, Russia? As I said to the Russian embassy this morning, I said to you, Russia, that it's a good thing President Putin wasn't in Davos, huh? Was President Xi there, I wonder? I don't think so. I didn't hear he was there. So it's a good thing, isn't it, that Russian President Vladimir Putin, your leader, and President Xi of China was not there? Where did this mist come from that made them all cough? Where did it come from? That they all ran like the cowards they are. Let me guess, it was terrorists, right? Was it? So now they're looking for the terrorists who drop this mist on them, I'll make them cough and throw up practically. No, it wasn't terrorists. Russia, it was not a terrorist organization. No. I'll tell you who it was God. He's repeated to the leaders of this Davos in Switzerland that which he did thousands of years ago over Egypt. Because in effect, these Nazi leaders are holding Israel in bondage. Innocent people in Israel, Palestinian people, innocent souls, innocent children, Israeli people, decent people, Holocaust survivors who are my family, held in bondage by the Zionists and all their recruits, including the Orthodox Jewish rabbis. That's what's going on, right? I know that my video here will make no difference. I know that. None of them have. I pointed all of you to my videos on YouTube. Canada can't stop you from looking at them. They can't stop you, can they? Can they stop you, Russia? Can they stop your embassy personnel from accessing my videos on YouTube? No, they can't. Can they stop you, China, from accessing the newest 3 videos, 2 including this one? Can they stop you? I don't think so. Right? Are you going to take heed and listen to my videos? I'll know by the how many people watched it. I will be counting. So far, it's just me. But I did give the Russian Federation Embassy this morning, didn't I? I told you, Daniel Fitzgerald, and then the numbers 3417 in the YouTube box, search box, and these will pop right up in your face. I know that. Canada's not going to stop you, are they? I don't think so. Even the ICC can take a look at my videos, can't they? Do you think Canada is going to stop the ICC from looking at my videos? No. Canada can't stop any embassy from calling us on the phone. They can't do that, can they? The fact of the matter is no embassy has called us about all our evidence because they're in with Canada and have been all along in covering for these criminals on Parliament Hill and their Hell's Angel buddies in the White House, right? I mean, Trump admitted it, didn't he? He admitted it, didn't he? Anyways, I think that's enough, Russia. And this video is for NATO and Russia and China in particular. Shalom.